Hello my beautiful bearded friends. So today we're going to talk about, can you scuba dive with a beard? I've just got back from a holiday on Lord Howe Island where I did a lot of scuba diving and I've run the experiments for you. So let's take a look. This video is based on an article on beardgrowingpro.com and it's also based on the experiments that I ran last week while I was on holiday on Lord Howe Island. Now, I'm very fortunate that I was able to dive 3 times at 3 different depths, and I tried all of the different methods for sealing on this mustache, and I'm going to share with you what worked, what didn't, and a few options that are a little bit more drastic and extreme if you dive regularly. So go check out beardgrowingpro.com. I'll put the link in the description. There's tons more information, links to products, and let's get on. All right, what worked for me? Diving with a beard is completely different to diving completely cleanly shaven. And that's because, your comfort in the water really depends on this seal on your mustache. Now, I talk about scuba diving, but this information is also just as useful if you are going snorkeling. Now, snorkeling uses the same type of mask, a mask that covers your eyes, your nose, and it relies on a seal which goes over the top of your mustache, around your cheeks, and up over your eyebrows. And really, growing a beard is shooting yourself in the foot, really, because you are no longer able to get a perfectly sort of clean seal just under your nose. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go scuba diving. In fact, I had a fantastic time. I did 3 dives and I tried different techniques at different dive sites at different depths to make sure that I could share with you the best ways to seal your mask while you're diving. But to give you the short answer, yes, you can still dive with a beard. I enjoyed myself. It was lovely. There are a few little quirks that come along with diving with a beard, but here they are. And here's what worked for me. So the first thing I tried was a thing called Crysto-Lube. Now, Crysto-Lube is used by dive shops to sort of lubricate the O-rings, to lubricate certain aspects of the dive equipment. And I got this and I smeared it on my mustache and smeared it up underneath, because the thing is, the reason the water leaks is because if you've got a long mustache like me, where the hair goes from the complete sort of like length of the mustache from the nose all the way down to the lip. Essentially, you've got little straws which just leak water. If you've got a shorter mustache, that isn't so much of an issue, but I wanted to seal off those little gaps in between the hairs with Crysto-Lube. So I used about, I don't know, like a toothpaste amount, or the same amount I'd put on my toothbrush, and I just smeared it inside. Now, this is pretty hardcore stuff. Crysto-Lube is not water soluble, obviously, because it's scuba diving. You cannot really use soap to get rid of it. It's a really sort of persistent lubricant, and it's like a little paste, so it really gets deep into your mustache. Now, the thing that I found was that this did actually work quite well. So on my first dive, I got Crysto-Lube and I smeared it on the inside of my mask. And the reason I use Crysto-Lube and not something like petroleum is because the petroleum has been known to sort of wear down the mask. So if you're snorkeling regularly or if you're diving regularly, you can actually damage the skirt of the mask. But I used Crysto-Lube on my first dive and it worked okay. But when I come to wash my beard that evening, it took probably about 3 or 4 shampoos to even remotely look like it had removed any of the Crysto-Lube. That's not necessarily a problem, but it did feel greasy and weird under my mustache for a very long time. So there's a downside. And then for the second dive and third dive, I actually didn't use any Crysto-Lube on my mustache. I just went in nude and it seemed to work just fine. I didn't really notice too much of a difference. But the Crysto-Lube, I think, did seal a little bit better. But without the Crysto-Lube on my bottom lip, I just cleared my mask more regularly. And that's where you put your hand on top of your mask, look up and blow out through your nose. and it clears out the water which may have seeped in, and it only really seeped in a very small amount. So yeah, Crysto-Lube or using other sort of lubricants can work, but it's not essential. And here are the things that besides the lube I found worked for me. They're just really simple stuff. Okay, so here's what worked for me. The first one is using a mask with a softer skirt. Now, I'm very fortunate that I've got my brother-in-law who actually owns the dive business, so I was able to be a little bit more kind of experimental with the mask. I said, can I try this one? Can I try this one? But essentially, the masks with the softest skirt worked best for me. Now, one thing you'll find with a lot of dive shops, if you're renting snorkel equipment, is the skirt will be harder than if you buy your own. And that's because, you know, they're rental equipment. They're used way more than if you're using your own dive mask, and they're not looked after as well. So if you are renting your equipment, ask to try a few different masks and choose the softest one. The way you test is you put it on your face, over your nose, and you breathe in through your nose, and if it sucks to your face, you're good. And one thing I found is the softer the skirt that sort of touched my face all the way around, the better the seal was over my nose. So that is the first thing. Choose a mask with a softer skirt. Now, you should never really pull your dive mask or your snorkel mask really tight, but I found with a beard, just going a little bit further than I would without a mustache means that the seal is a little bit tighter. So I did find myself kind of holding on to the sides of the mask and just clicking one more past where I normally would. Normally, I have the mask very comfortably on my face, but with a mustache and with a beard, if I'm snorkeling, I just really rank it on, and I found that really did help a lot. So it does leave a little bit of a mark after you've been wearing your dive mask or your snorkel mask for, you know, about 40 minutes or 45 minutes was the length of my dive, and I did find that there was a little bit more of a kind of impression left on my skin, but that's fine. Like, it goes away. You do look like a little bit like a noob in the diving world if you are sort of cranking on your mask too hard, but for the comfort at the bottom of the dives, I'd certainly notice that just giving it an extra click on either side made sure that the water didn't leak in as much. The third thing that I found worked for me is just clearing my mask more regularly. There's nothing that you can really do to stop masks leaking, even if you don't have a beard. So getting comfortable with just clearing out your mask regularly was fine. I also found that I could kind of keep a little bit of time between clearing just by letting out a little bit of bubbles through my nose as I was breathing normally. And because the mask was on tighter than usual, it did clear out and come out the bottom, and the kind of, you know, the air will either go to the highest point or the weakest point. And so I did find that I was able to clear out my nose quite easily just by sort of slowly exhaling through my nose without having to do a full clear. So breathing it out through your nose regularly and just softly did delay the massive clearing that I had to do. But overall, I didn't really sort of notice too much difference. I was able to completely enjoy my dive, but there are a couple more extreme things you can do that I didn't do, but here they are. So one of the more extreme things that you can do is trim down your beard. Now, the thing is that dive masks don't actually sort of cover your entire top lip, because that would be uncomfortable because you've got the regulator or the snorkel in your mouth, and so they do actually seal very close to your nostrils. Now, I've got a relatively pointy nose, so I do find the mask completely my nose completely fills the little sort of like triangle, but it does seal right up underneath, so you can trim about 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter just under your nose, and that sort of like acted like a seal, or it can act like more like a seal, because it's just that last little bit where the mask touches your face. So trim up that, and then if you dive or you snorkel regularly and you are finding it's a massive pain, there are some really good mustacheless beard styles, and it may be something that you're willing to sort of negotiate on, is the fact that removing your mustache completely just means that you will get a good seal the majority of the time, especially if you've got your own mask and you just want to enjoy diving without having to clear your mask often. You can actually just choose a style that means you do not have this top part of your mustache or your entire mustache. Now go check out Beard Growing Pro. I'll put a link in the description. I've also got a blog article on the best types of mustache-less beards so that you can make a choice. They're not bad. When I was first writing that article, I was like, that's going to be terrible beards. But, you know, I love all beards, and those are just as fine, and they don't look out of place without a mustache. So you can get rid of it if you do find that you're diving regularly, but you do want to keep, you know, the stuff on your chin and cheeks. That's also allowed. Easy done. So there we have it. There are all of the things that you can do to make sure that your beard doesn't interfere with your diving. I did dives, I think the maximum depth was about 18 meters or so, and I had no issues whatsoever, you know, maybe blowing out more regularly, but yes, you can dive with a beard, you can enjoy it, and just with a few little tricks and few little choices before you actually jump in the water, you can make it just as enjoyable as if you didn't have any leakages in your mask. So let me know in the comments what you would add to this list. Have you tried anything that has worked particularly well? Let me know and share that with others. But until next time, go check out Beard Growing Pro. Remember to subscribe if this was useful to you, and I shall see you in the next video.